Hold on to your butt.
OTYB. It's in your butt. It's in your butt.
Oh, well, that faded out quick. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hold On to Your Butts E3 2017 special. Blev and I are here to break down the Sony PlayStation conference, and it was a doozy.
It was a doozy.
It was a doozy.
Full of excitement.
Full of excitement?
Did you see the crowd, though, halfway through?
Yeah, they just nothing.
What is going... They're like, what the fuck is going on?
Bummer of a crowd. Jesus Christ. I mean, have a little bit more excitement now.
I think one guy was asleep.
Yeah. I think you texted me. Yeah, one guy was actually asleep. So, Blev, what are your, gut reactions, overall, before we dive in too deep?
I guess, I don't know. It's kind of a unexciting release for E3. You know, it wasn't super thrilling in any way. And they're bringing out what's the remake of that one game? I can't remember what it's called.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus.
Yep.
That was exciting, but and God of War, super exciting. And then the only thing is, most of the games they talked about are released not just for Sony, like Call of Duty. That's cool. That looks really cool and exciting, but I don't know. So my overall reaction is just I kind of wish they pushed the envelope a little bit more, but they kind of played it safe.
Yeah, I mean, the issue, I think, and I think this is what you're saying too, it's just even the exclusives that they showcased during this press briefing were games we already knew about. There were really no surprises. Now, I know Shadow of the Colossus is a huge surprise. An HD remake of that is going to make a lot of people really happy. But then the other big surprise was probably that Monster Hunter is coming to PlayStation, which, cool, but that's a really, 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 sort of Japanese flavored game, which isn't for everybody.
I wasn't too thrilled. I don't know. Those type of games don't really catch my eye. I guess that's not the type of gamer I am. But
I'm sort of in
it's pretty crazy looking.
I'm in this weird I don't know, crux of trying to decide on how I feel about the PlayStation press conference because. Yeah. Number one, it probably had the most games that I'm genuinely excited to play.
I honestly think it was just overhyped. It was super overhyped. Because you had Xbox calling out Scorpio, or what is it, the One X now? Mm-hmm. So now they had that, and so Sony was they had to come up with something, and they were they didn't really put all their eggs in one basket. They were we're going to release a ton of titles this year. Spider-Man being one, God of War, and then the Colossus, right?
Yeah, and I do appreciate that, their conference was about games. Yeah. And I think Microsoft, did a really great job of this too. Their conference was really all about games. But the fact, a lot of these E3 press conferences, we get, execs in suits coming out and talking about sales numbers and showing graphs, and it's no one cares. Just show us the games, right? Or don't, or don't bother. And PlayStation really showed up on that front and showed off a ton of great games. Again, games we already knew about. There weren't a lot of really big surprises from PlayStation this year. But holy shit, the games they showed look fucking awesome. Let's just get into it. They opened the show with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
Which looks super dope. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to start playing that game again and have a brand new story. And I know you're not playing as Nate Drake or anything. Did you play Uncharted 4?
I did not play Uncharted 4, but I did when I got a new PlayStation 4. I did get the Uncharted collection, which I dove into a little bit. I didn't have enough time to actually dive all the way into that game, but I really want to start. I really want to go back and play Uncharted 4 for sure.
Man, Uncharted 4 is a great game, and I love being able to dust that off and play it again. Now, I know it's a standalone DLC, so you don't even really need to own Uncharted 4 to play that game. You can just download it. I think they followed that up immediately with another DLC, which was Horizon Zero Dawn's DLC. Which,
Winter or something?
Yeah, which is a story DLC, which looks really solid. And
I still can't wait to play that game, by the way.
Oh, yeah, man, that's a fantastic game. You just got your Pro, so it looks beautiful in 4K. Probably the prettiest game that I've seen so far. Now, a lot of the games that they showed at E3 this year were absolutely gorgeous. We've got the press conference on here in the background on mute just to sort of refresh our memory, and they're showing Days Gone, which really...
I said something completely wrong when I texted you.
Yeah, when you texted me, you said Gaze Gone, which, not cool.
Not cool. Definitely a mistypo, by the way.
But Days Gone with a D looks so pretty. I mean, we're watching it on a 1080p TV right here. The guy driving on the motorcycle, and even in 1080p, the lighting effects, the way that this game is being rendered just looks beautiful.
I wonder if this is actual gameplay or is this being rendered?
Oh, this is gameplay. This is absolutely gameplay. This is a really long gameplay demo for Days Gone.
How about when he drives past the wolf and the wolf starts chasing him?
Oh, yeah.
And then he just turns around and pops him right in the head.
Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable. I would say, like, this looks a lot to me like Uncharted or The Last of Us. Just in terms of how gritty the combat seems to be. And
I would say Red Dead Redemption, too.
Yeah, sure.
A little bit.
And then fucking a zombie bear at the end of it. Fucking zombie bears, man.
That looked
That's pretty dope.
I wonder how much it would take to kill that thing.
Yeah. So that looked amazing. And those are the 3 things that they used to start their show. So, I mean, they definitely started off on the right note. And overall, just in terms of what you saw next, what were the big standout games that are in your mind sort of up for our best in show for not only just PlayStation's conference, but for the entire conference this year?
I think one for PlayStation alone is probably God of War,
Shit, that looked beautiful.
And actually regenerating the series a little bit, rejuvenating it, and actually bringing back the original Kratos to voiceover.
Yeah.
The new Kratos. So, but that game actually looks really dope for me and looks... I grew up on God of War, so that game is very, very exciting for me, and I look forward to playing it. I would say just the game overall for me is going back to the roots of Call of Duty. So, I love COD, and it's a game I'm really good at. That's probably why I love it a lot.
Yep.
I can never remember the Colossus thing.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
That game, even though I did not play that before, I would love to get into it. It looks really, really cool.
So this might be a good opportunity for people like you who hadn't had the chance to have played this game back when it was.
It was pretty
first
indie,
released.
Wasn't it? Before?
Yeah, so it was when it was released. It was a really indie game for PlayStation 2 when it was released, and then sort of garnered a cult following just over time.
Because I remember being in art school, and one of the people I knew that I went to school with was playing this game, and I was like, I didn't really understand it, and at the time it didn't catch my attention, but then. After seeing it being remade and how beautiful the game was back in the day, I'm not going to lie in front, the game was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then now they're remaking in HD. It's probably going to be glorious. It's going to be an awesome game to play and get back.
And again, I think that was one of the big surprises for Sony this year, right? Was I don't think anybody was expecting a remake of that, especially because that was the same studio that's responsible for The Last Guardian, which came out this year. Which kind of didn't get great reviews. It was a really long development process for that game. It took forever to come out, and by the time it actually came out, I'm sure it had just a set of standards that was never going to be met by reviewers.
So, whenever a gaming company releases a title, say that they're going to come out with a title, do you think it hurts them more so when they actually delay it so much to actually releasing it? Or do you think it actually builds up more of a cult following to be like, oh, I can't wait for this game to come out? Or can it actually have a negative reaction with that?
I think it's kind of neither, to be honest. I think it's kind of like null and void. It's like these days you just expect a game to get delayed. I mean, especially these big title games, they all get delayed. I mean, it just didn't used to be like that from my memory. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
Do you think it just leads to social media in general? Just the ability to release or talk about it and have everyone know about it right away. You would have to get a magazine back in the day, and then you'd have to be like, oh, it's delayed now. Yeah, instead of right away you hear about it.
I think it is that totally. I think it is totally social media and just how competitive the gaming industry is these days. To get your game out there on top of mind of people is so important, and I think the problem is people just are announcing games too early, and they know they're too early, but they want people to be on the hype train and hopefully keep that hype train moving until their game comes out. And maybe they are setting an internal goal that's really ambitious and they're trying to hit it, but at the end of the day, if they're not happy with the product, or if the studio is not happy with the product, then they're gonna have to wait on it. So getting back to the show,
well, even Spider-Man too. I thought, so what? You're back to your question. What the two games that really come to mind for PlayStation are Spider-Man and also God of War.
Yeah, to me, Spider-Man was just fucking epic. Oh my god, that game looks so pretty. When they sort of rolled out the cityscape on that really over the top budget stage, and they had that Spider-Man music, that orchestral music playing, that would kind of build up that old sort of superhero, early 2000s superhero movie feeling, of kind of those Sam Raimi movies of Spider-Man. Sort of that's the feelings that I got when I heard that music and then saw Spider-Man come into frame for the first time. But the gameplay looked so fluid and so awesome. The stalking gameplay. I mean, really, it was super similar to the Batman Arkham game.
Do you have any worries about the game, though? Do you have any, like if it's not something of your expectation, are you worried about it?
Yeah, the only worry that I would have is that I saw a lot of QuickTime events. Like a lot of press triangle now. Yeah. Press square now. Now press L2 and R2 a bunch of times. Like game on rails sort of feeling. Like I hope there's still like a lot of like traversal and combat and
I really hope it's like sort of like Devil May Cry a little bit.
Yeah, like quick combat.
And quick like what I don't even know what the actual term is for that, but
I would say like it didn't not look like Uncharted to me in terms of how much they were relying on QuickTime. Okay. And that never took me out of Uncharted for sure. I always kind of felt like I was playing my part in a movie. Yeah. So I kind of anticipate that we're going to get a little of that.
But like, I guess every other Spider-Man game I've played, it's always been based off, it's always been released when a movie came out. And so that makes me worried based off of what you just said there, because I don't want to feel like I'm in another Spider-Man movie. You know, I want to feel like I'm in a Spider-Man universe and feel like I'm ingrained in that environment, and I am Spider-Man. I'm not on rails. You know, I'm not. It's more of an open world setting like GTA. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like more like GTA. And the only time I saw when there was an actual like a triangle button or X button is when you're like in combat mode, really. You know, but I don't know. So that's only my only worry is that you're going to be stuck on rails and actually in a movie again. And it's like, I don't want to do that. You know, I want to be Spider-Man. I want to do what I want to do as Spider-Man.
The Batman games are a perfect example of that. They play so well and make you feel like you are Batman. And you're so I hope that this game does that. And I do feel like, you know, what we saw was a quote-unquote boss fight, and there might be some of that in the boss fights to make them feel especially cinematic, and that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that. Okay. I'm really excited for it. I was a little bummed, I'll be honest, that they said that it's not coming out until 2018. I think that would have been a really big win for Sony to come out and be like, and it's available this fall. So
or even like holiday, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same with God of War. I mean, a lot of these games that we saw, from Sony, a lot of these games that we saw aren't coming out until 2018, and that's sort of a bummer. I mean, like, you know, when you show off a game that looks that far in development, Spider-Man was announced at last year's E3. God of War was announced at last year's E3. And then this year we got a really extended gameplay demo. And now we're hearing that it's not going to come out until 2018.
Year, so 2 years
and that's a bummer. I mean, I know we've only got like 7 months until 2018. And I know God of War is slated for the first, we had a release window. It's slated for the first like quarter for 2018, so that's great. But I mean,
here's a window, but we don't know when it's coming.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, you know, it's a bit of a bummer. You know, we're all of us here on the Hold On to Your Butt show are not like gaming professionals, and we're not like professional games journalists. You know, we're just fans like you guys. And so when we watch something like this, you know, we're reacting as honestly as we can. And if I'm being totally honest, I'm a little let down at Sony's press conference this year. Like I was expecting to see some surprises. You know, I'm really surprised we didn't see more of The Last of Us 2.
I'm surprised did we even see any of it?
No, they didn't show it at all, which is surprising after announcing a huge game like that last year. Even an update, something for The Last of Us 2, which leads me to believe that we're a long way off from that game actually coming out.
Well, they didn't even do an update. They didn't even talk about it or mention it. Yep. And there's a lot of cringeworthy like stuff happening in the entire press conference. Then like when they were even talking about VR, like Skyrim looks cool because it looks like it's in first person for VR. But then what the fuck is going on with Final Fantasy Fishing? What is that?
Fucking oh man!
Like everyone in the audience is like, what is going on? It's just like, how many titles can we throw at you at once?
I'm telling you, I've had it about up to here with VR. I think I'm like, look, I understand that it's a cool thing, but it is a gimmick. It is still a gimmick, and
I only think it's a gimmick for console, though. That's the only thing I think of.
Sure, I mean, like, I'm sure it works really well on a high-end gaming PC, and that's great, but, you know, I'm a little relieved that Microsoft didn't say anything about VR at this press conference this year. Like, honestly, I don't think it's ready. I don't think it's proven itself out there in the market. I mean, I know they came out on the PlayStation conference and said a lot about how, they've proven that PlayStation is a perfect, console to have a great VR experience on.
Yeah.
But then they showed a bunch of really mediocre looking ass games. I mean, really mediocre looking ass games.
Like you said, didn't make any sense.
Final Fantasy Fishing. Like, what the fuck?
I don't even know if that's even the title.
What the fuck are we doing here?
Like, it didn't make any sense, and you could see everyone at the press conference was like, "Is that it? Is we really paid all this money to come to this press conference for this shit?"
Yeah, that was a bummer. But not to just dwell on the negatives. I mean, the positive side. Fuck, God of War looked beautiful. Oh my God,